What's up, slickers and slicksters? So I'm back with another video, and I'm only making it because I feel like it. If you want to watch, cool. If not, oh well. I'm still gonna make $1 billion, and I'm still getting 1 billion subs. With or without you. If you do want to support me, I guess you can subscribe, or don't. And if you're not watching the whole video, then what's the point anyway? Get the fuck out of here, scumbag. Slickers and slicksters, it's time to meet the most amazing white TV dads of all time. But first, a word from our sponsor, you, my slickers and slicksters. That's right, this video is brought to you by the power of liking, subscribing, and sharing. I'm having a fucking blast, and I'm just getting started. Don't forget to like videos, assholes. I'm chasing that 1 billion subs and $1 billion, so show me some love. And to my 50 loyal slickers and slicksters, I say thank you. I guess, but let's get real, slickers and slicksters. I know you guys can do better. Only 50 subscribers in 2 months? That's cute. Anyway, enough chastising for now. Let's get to the good stuff. So without further ado, meet Daniel Dan Connor from Roseanne. First appearing in the 1988 episode Life and Stuff, Dan quickly became a fan favorite. He's the husband to Roseanne Connor. And father to 2 daughters, Darlene and Becky, and 2 sons, DJ and Jerry Garcia. Now, Dan is married to a woman with mental health issues and drug addiction and racist views. Seriously, what's her deal? Now, diving into Dan's history, he had a troubled upbringing and was known for getting into petty mischief, typically underage drinking.
No, let's tell him now. Mom wants me to go on the pill because Becky had sex.
I don't think that'll work.
Dan was an accomplished brawler before settling down with Roseanne, but generally avoids using physical violence to settle issues. A notable exception occurred when he is involved in an off-screen confrontation when he confronted Fisher, Jackie's abusive boyfriend. Dan later stated that the incident was an unintentional escalation and that he only intended to scare Fisher. The event led to Dan's temporary incarceration in Lanford's city jail.
Yo, this is a no-go. I'ma call a CO. Me a homo? Nah, man, that's a no-no.
Though Fisher later dropped the charges. Anyway, Dan is a good man, loyal, hardworking, loves his family more than anything, very protective. He's an avid fan of the Chicago sports teams, including the Bears, Bulls, and Cubs, and Blackhawks. He also enjoys playing poker with his friends and fixing motorcycles. And I think Dan getting the bike shop in later seasons started the show crumbling of the family unit, as Dan was in way over his head, although he had good intentions.
Son, no matter what it is, you can tell us. Is it because she's black? It is, isn't it?
Well, he'll be mad if I say yes.
No, we won't.
Yes, we will. Black people are just like us. They're every bit as good as us, and any people who don't think so is just a bunch of banjo-picking, cousin-dating, barefoot embarrassments to respectable white trash like us.
I don't care, I'm not doing it.
Oh, yes, you are.
Honey, you're overreacting. DJ, if you don't want to kiss this girl, your mom and I won't force you to.
Hey, you're kissing that girl. You're doing the play, and that's all there is to it.
Well, Dad said I didn't have to, and Dad outranks you.
Are you new?
Why don't you calm down? I think you're being a little too hard on the kid. He grew up in Lanford. It's only 5% black, and kissing's a new thing for DJ. It's only natural he's not as comfortable kissing a black girl as one of his own. I did not say that.
Now, during the final episode of season 9, when Roseanne reveals that the entire 9th season was written as a fictional book based on her life and family, and she changed certain unpleasant elements, most notably that Dan's brief affair was actually him dying from his heart attack near the end of season 8. Roseanne ran from 1988 to 1997. It was revived in 2018 and had been renewed again, but was cancelled in May, soon after the revival season, as Roseanne Barr, who played Roseanne Connor, made controversial remarks on social media. The broadcaster ABC and other cast members wished to keep the show going in some form without her, and this culminated in the announcement of The Connors, a separate series from Roseanne, with Dan as the protagonist. On June 21st, 2018. Barr is not involved in any capacity, and her character was killed off, thank God. And now some highlights. Of course, the video would not be complete without showcasing Dan's bowling skills.
Underground funk.
Ooh, come on, you ain't got no green, broke ass nigga. So you will be on Team C.
In The Conners, audiences see a new development for Dan, who is now a widower and forced to cope with Roseanne's death. The character's circumstances as an aging manual laborer are also explored. Dan eventually gets remarried to Louise, a new character portrayed by actress Katie Segal, who played Peggy Bundy on another popular 1980s-1990 sitcom, Married with Children. Ironically, Roseanne Barr was offered the Peggy Bundy role, but turned it down. Dan faces new challenges as a grandfather. Throughout the series, Dan's character evolves, but his lovable and chivalrous nature remains constant. He epitomizes the stereotypical blue-collar American father and is widely considered one of the best TV dads of all time. Number 5. Johnny Rose from Schitt's Creek. Mainly because he's a self-made businessman, and he's got the ability to bounce back after losing everything. At the beginning of the series, Johnny was in a state of shock and shame. He lost everything. You see, he was duped by someone he trusted. His whole family dynamic shifted overnight. Complete fish out of water in his fucked up little shithole town. From having the freedom that unfathomable wealth brings to the entrapment that poverty shackles you to is a very great fall. It takes a minute for even the strongest person to bounce back, and bounce back he did. Critics have called out and say that he has zero contacts from his rich days. They feel that's very unlikely. He went from running Rose video rentals to buying motels. I argue that he's still slightly out of touch. Fucking critics. Some critics also say, how could he be a high-powered businessman who's awkward in social interactions, lacking basic communication and business sense? But, assholes, you also have to factor in the difference in who he's dealing with. He spent decades dealing with other rich, high-powered people, not Joe Schmoes in a small town. He can only bring pieces of what he knows to the table here. He can't treat the business interactions like he would interactions in New York City. It was his business manager that lost all their money, and he didn't even know about it. He hasn't been working for years. Started a business decades ago, hadn't done anything hands-on for at least a decade, and hadn't interacted with anyone who wasn't incredibly wealthy or working for him in decades. You'd be surprised what only talking to Yes Man will do. Lastly, Johnny gets bonus nepotism points for casting his son Dan Levy as his on-screen son David Rose, and his daughter Sarah Levy as Twyla Sands. Johnny Rose teaches us the importance of do-it-yourself, because if you need something done, you might as well do it yourself, since no one else will. He knows enough to not say PIN number because it's redundant.
I'm a little bit single, even when I'm not.
Number 4 on the list. Forget about it. Yes, it's true that in the early days, American Italians were often viewed as non-white and were subjected to similar types of racism as blacks.
Hey, what am I, an asshole? What am I, a fucking jerk? Get the fuck out of here.
The Italian population in the United States was largely made up of Southern Italians, who were often darker skinned than Northern Italians, which may have contributed to the perception that Italians were black or non-white. This perception was reflected in the ways Italians were treated in society, including being segregated from whites in some cases and facing discrimination in housing, employment, and education. Additionally, it's important to note that when Africa conquered parts of Italy a long time ago, some African people stayed and had children with Italian people. This means that some Italians today have a little bit of African DNA in their genes.
You're Sicilian, huh? Sicilian. I read a lot. Here's a fact. I don't know whether you know or not. Sicilians were spawned by niggers.
Come again?
It's a fact. Sicilians have black blood pumping through their hearts. Up hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the Moors conquered Sicily, and the Moors are niggers. See, way back then, Sicilians were like wops from northern Italy. They all had blonde hair and blue eyes. But, well, then the Moors moved in there, and Well, they changed the whole country. With Sicilian women, huh? That they changed the whole bloodline forever. That's why blonde hair and blue eyes became black hair and dark skin. You know, it's absolutely amazing to me to think that to this day, hundreds of years later, that Sicilians still carry that nigger gene. Your ancestors are niggers. And your great-great-great-great-grandmother fucked a nigger. Yeah, and she had a half-nigger kid. If that's a fact, tell me, am I lying?
Despite this complex history, today, Italians are considered white and no longer subjected to the same types of discrimination and racism that they faced in the past. Meet Tony Soprano, the devoted father and pillar of the community. When he's not busy running his waste management business, Tony loves spending quality time with his family. The Italian stallion may have some mommy issues, but he's got a soft spot for his kids and a willingness to discipline anyone who gets in their way. As a devoted husband to Mrs. Bada Bing, Carmela, he's the ultimate provider, ensuring they live in a beautiful home, enjoying lavish vacations, and having every material comfort. When he's not taking care of business, he's feeding the ducks at his pool, investing in race horses, R.I.P. Pi Oh My, going fishing with his son AJ, watching sports, Yankees and Jets all the way, baby, sailing the high seas in his yacht, Stugatz, baby. Tony's also a passionate historian, watches classic movies, black and white of course. Who knew being a mob boss could be so relatable? Tony Soprano, the one and only character to appear in every episode of the show. He's the one that holds the series together, and his presence is felt in every scene. Why Tony Soprano? Forget about it. Frank Vernon Francis Gallagher. Frankie G, born the 11th of March, 1959. He is a perpetually unemployed, absentee single parent who is also a severe alcoholic who blows all his time and money getting drunk at the Jockey. Yet somehow he appeared more regularly than any other cast member and has been voted best shameless character on earth. I appreciate Frank's hallmark drunken rants on a wide variety of literary, historical, and philosophical subjects that usually end in how decent, hard-working people, among whom he erroneously seems to count himself, are discriminated against. It's revealed that Frank spiraled into alcoholism shortly after Monica deserted him in 2001, and he chucked all responsibility. Leaving his eldest daughter Fiona to pick up the pieces and hold the family together. With his wife Monica Gallagher, he has fathered 8 children. He is also the father to Monica's other son, Ian. He also fathered twins, Nigel and Delilah, with his ex-girlfriend Sheila Jackson. During a drunken rant, it is implied he impregnated several girls in high school, which leaves the question of how many kids does he really have? Frank is famously known for his khaki green parka coat, which he usually wears without fail. In episode 8 of season 9, that though he originally stole the coat off a man on a bus, he was wearing it both when his daughter Fiona was conceived and when she was born. In series 1, he left the younger children in the care of Fiona and moved in with agoraphobic Sheila Jackson, attracted by her large savings account and gullible nature. In early series, Frank comes across as a drunken bully, even headbutting his son Ian on one occasion. Most of his children initially resent Frank for his drunken bullying ways, and even physically attack him on a few occasions. However, his middle daughter, Debbie, shows sympathy throughout this series when her father is either in serious trouble or presumed dead, something which has happened 3 times to date. Frank shows that in spite of his many faults and treatment, he does love his children. He refused to leave his family when Fiona handed him money, and he didn't take it since he realized he couldn't live without the people who have stayed by his side. Frank is also a supporter of Manchester City Football Club. So why is Frank on our list? Because despite all of his flaws, he's a devoted father who never left his kids. Except for that one time when he left them to go live with Sheila. That's more than some people can say. After all, as the great philosopher Frank Gallagher once said, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a night person. I'm a whenever the pub opens person. Cheers to that, mate.
Number two. Oh, God. Hi, I'm Al Bundy. There's a time I scored 4 touchdowns in one game on this.
Number 2. In 1966, Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for the Polk High School Panthers in the 1966 City Championship game versus Andrew Johnson High School, including the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds against his old nemesis, Bubba Spare Tire Dixon. Al Bundy from Chicago, Illinois, and the star of Married with Children. He's got it all. A beautiful wife, Peggy, and 2 kids, Kelly.
And now, the car of tomorrow.
The new latte.
And Bud.
He came from the streets where everyone's meat. Guns in the night put you under a sheet. Can't love no one cause he's on the run. Sleeps in the alleys, wakes by the sun. Listen to the sirens, thinking they're for me. It's a lonely life for Grandmaster B. Yes, a lonely life for Grandmaster B.
Who are just the light of his life, said no one ever. And of course, the family dog, Buck. But Al's not just a family man. He's also a career guy. He's got a great job at Gary's Shoes and Accessories, where he gets to deal with fat heifers and smell like feet all day.
Sir! Take a number. What is your number?
1.
How may I serve you?
I want my money back. These shoes you sold me are as useless to me as a comb is to you. I've only worn them once, and they split at the sides.
Well, let me explain. See, it's just like an elevator. There's a 2-ton weight limit on these shoes. Let's say I nail the soles directly to your feet. It'll give you more traction when you're pulling the ice wagon.
You'll be hearing from my attorney.
Is that the law offices of Hagen and Dotz? Number 2. Oh, God.
Hey, who wouldn't want that? He's got the looks, he's got the charm, and the...
I saw it again and it's all darkness!
Are you guys watching this new show?
Okay, no, he doesn't have any of those things. But he does have a great sense of humor.
It's a doll!
And by great sense of humor, I mean roasting customers at the shoe store. Speaking to a larger woman who came into the shoe store, Al delivered a comment about her weight while she was trying on shoes. Angered, she stood up and spoke back at him, not believing that he would say such a thing. In typical Al style, he really didn't care if he made the sale, so he made fun of her size. Al Bundy, the patriarch of the Bundy family, and one of the most iconic TV dads of all time. But what's even more impressive is that his fatherhood skills are still growing, even after all these years. I mean, the guy still gets married to a total smoke show, Sofia Vergara.
Gloria, you'll never understand the stereotypes old white men face.
I'm Sean, by the way.
Jay Pritchard.
Jay.
It's okay, Gloria. All handled. This is my wife, Gloria. This is Sean, and I want to get this right. Beautiful African name, Sean Mbadaway.
I said, by the way.
Happy birthday!
No singing.
And he's still killing the father game.
Well, young Mr. Bundy. The devil boy.
Well, you've just taught me that even the slightest movement can make a fat person sweat.
Your father just might be wrong.
Number 1.
Your father was wrong. Your father was wrong.
Number 1. Archie Bunker, the OG TV dad, who kept it 100 and never faked the funk. I love him because he wasn't politically correct.
God had meant us to be together. He'd have put us together. Well, look what he's done. He put you over in Africa. He put the rest of us in all the white countries.
I mean, there was work for us.
I think you're talking about slavery there, Sam.
George, that's your third drink.
I know that.
or put it down?
Mama, will you leave me alone, please?
I said put it down. You've had enough.
Look, Mama, I'm a big boy now. I don't need you to blow my nose for me. Now, will you leave me alone?
George.
Hey there, Jefferson. That ain't very nice, talking that way to your little mammy here.
Who you calling mammy? I'm nobody's mammy. I'm his mother. Now, if you got anything to say to me, you call me Mrs. Jefferson.
Oh, she's Mrs. Jefferson.
Don't talk to me.
He called Mama mammy.
I thought all colored people call their mothers mammy.
He was raw and unfiltered. He spoke his mind, even if it meant ruffling a few feathers. And that's what Slick Smith is all about, keeping it real just like Archie.
Do you mean to tell me that your father ain't met that man?
No, I'm going to introduce him right now.
This I gotta see.
Mom, Pop, this is Jenny's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Willis.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
Mrs. Jefferson? Mr. Jefferson?
You white. I don't want to know him. I don't want no white in-laws in my family. Think, son, think. What about your children? What they gonna be? Well, boys and girls, I hope. Listen to him, Louise. That's what happens when you mix black and white. 10 more seconds, he's gonna call her nigga.
Listen to that. I ain't used that word in 3 years.
I relate to him because he's not racist. He hates everybody equally. I'm like that too. I'm an objective hater. I don't discriminate. He never minced words. He spoke his mind. And that's what I love about him. He's got one daughter, Gloria, who he loves dearly, just like me. People think he's grumpy, angry, miserable, but he's not. He's just misunderstood. That's why he's my #1 TV dad. I love his style, his attitude, and his unapologetic approach to life. So fuck everyone else. Archie Bunker's that nigga. So there you have it. We've come to the end. Don't be sad it's over, be happy it happened.
You know those? What?